Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Minecraft Disney World. Today we're going to be taking a look at a classic ride. It's in Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom. It's called a bunch of different things. Some of you might know it as the WEDWay People Mover. Some of you might know it as the Tomorrowland Transit Authority. It's currently known as the Tomorrowland Transit Authority People Mover. It's a combination, the best of both. And we're going to walk through it and talk a little bit about the history of it.
Tomorrowland Transit Authority Metroliner non-stop, now departing Rocket Tower Plaza Station for a round-trip Super Skyway tour.
So, this is actually a ride that opened on July 1st, 1975. It was based on a prototype that was in Disneyland in California, also called the People Mover at the time. That the addition of the word WEDWay, W-E-D, standard for Walter Elias Disney, and they were the company that came up with most of the technology used in attractions in the early days of Disney, before it became Walt Disney Imagineering. It was actually a separate company because at the time, Disney and his brother Roy were so worried that people would worry about Disney's film business based on the success of their attractions, that Walt just made his own company, so he didn't have to worry about shareholders and things like that. Anyway, like I said, this was based on a version on the West Coast. It was a little different. On the West Coast, they had closed cars, and it was on a track without a roof. But because the weather's a little different here, they opted to have open cars, so you had open air, and they had a roof over the track, so you didn't have to worry about the sun in your face. It was also a little different in that Goodyear didn't sponsor the East Coast version, and the reason for this was because, this is a little technical, on the West Coast they use Goodyear tires to move the cars along the track, but on the East Coast they actually are using linear synchronous motors, and what they are, I don't know. You're going to have to wiki that. But for that reason, Goodyear didn't sponsor it, but the Edison Electric Institute did sponsor this ride. What it was is it was a little car ride. It wasn't slow-moving like an Omnimover ride, but it was fairly slow, and it would give you a tour of Tomorrowland. And the reason this was an attraction, really, was that this is what Walt thought people would be using to get around within a city in the future. He had plans with the original Epcot of using a system of people movers just like this, so that if, say, you wanted to go from the home to downtown to buy, whatever, you would hop in one of these rather than getting into a car, and it would always be running, and you would always be able to hop onto one. You wouldn't have to wait. And that's sort of why it earned its place in Tomorrowland, was because for him this was transportation of the future. It was narrated by Jack Wagner all the way up until 1985. And then in 85, they sort of replaced the narration with, they called them Orac 1. He was a computer. And really what it did was the narration always gave you a tour of what you were seeing. For instance, what we're seeing right now is Progress City. Progress City was Walt's original dream of Epcot. Essentially, that's what it was called before it was Epcot. He had built this massive scale, small scale model of the city that he had planned, and it was originally featured at the end of Carousel of Progress. You would go upstairs when you got out of the Carousel of Progress, and you'd see the entire model of the city. This is actually just a chunk of it, and you ride through and you see it. Just a little piece, and it's relevant because this was the city in which people movers would be used very, very often, and it's a shame they sort of shrunk down the size of the city. I would love to see this whole thing, and if you see over there, you got a little hidden Mickey, and then over here, you would actually see different parts of attractions, or in this case, they sort of built up a little mock area for the different lines, and the different lines should be explained a little bit. See, the TTA, like every attraction and every hotel and virtually everything in Disney World, has a storyline, and the storyline is that this is a transportation system in the future in Tomorrowland, and you're riding technically on the blue line, and there are hints of a red line and a green line. The red line took riders off planet to other destinations in the galaxy. And the green line brought people to the hoverburbs, which I guess are hovering suburbs. Of course, they didn't actually exist. You only ever rode the blue line, but that was kind of cool. And here you'd see inside, I believe this was a gift shop you could look down into. So it basically went through all these different rides. You went in over there, which is where you would see Stitch's Great Escape. I don't remember exactly what else was over there. You get a look at the race cars down there. And then this is what made it really cool, is that you'd go into Space Mountain. Now, this is really cool because sometimes you hear about seeing Space Mountain while it's lit up. And if the ride ever breaks down, they have to turn the lights on. You get to see Space Mountain indoors with the lights on. It's a really cool thing to see. Although if the ride breaks down, they stop loading people onto it. So you have to be really lucky in that you're on one of the cars in Space Mountain when it breaks down to see it with the lights on. However, because the TTA and Space Mountain are two separate attractions, and because one goes into the other, they never actually shut down the TTA whenever Space Mountain was shut down. So this was like a better chance of seeing Space Mountain with the lights on. Otherwise, it would just tell you about Space Mountain, and you'd see the cars dropping past you, and you get a little preview of what you could go wait in line and ride. Now, August 5th, 2010, they changed it officially from the People Mover to the Tomorrowland Transit Authority People Mover. Although at this point, people just call it the TTA. It's a lot easier, although there is sort of a fond nostalgia for calling it the People Mover. And in 2009, they changed it from Aurak the computer, the voiceover, to a voice featuring Mike Brassel, who I'm not sure what else he's done. But unfortunately, Disney got a lot of complaints about the new narration. They thought it took away from some of the creativity, because in the original they would have like little tongue-in-cheek jokes like paging Dr. Morrow, Dr. Tom Morrow, and I guess just the quality of the voiceover in general. And Disney, surprisingly, you wouldn't expect this from sort of a company that runs the theme park, listened to the feedback and they changed the voiceover. They added the tomorrow thing, and actually, what is it that they say? They say, paging Dr. Morrow, Dr. Tom Morrow, please contact Mr. Johnson in the control tower to confirm your flight to the moon. And what's relevant about that is that it's a sort of throwback. Flight to the Moon was a tribute to one of the first attractions to occupy the ride that's now Stitch's Great Escape, which at one point was the extraterrestrial encounter. So it's a cool little throwback they put in there. Interesting fact, also, the new narration has a little snippet of Mickey, and it's the first place in any Disney park where you can hear Brett Iwan, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who is the new voice actor for Mickey Mouse. I believe he's talking about, he comes up during Mickey's Star Traders, which is the previously mentioned gift shop. So anyway, this is a great ride because it is relaxing. It's not a thrill ride by any stretch. There's seldom ever a line for it. And you get a nice look at TTA. Parents love it because you get to take a nap. Kids probably don't love it as much. I have definitely learned to enjoy it more and more as time has gone on. It's definitely something you should try if you're ever in Tomorrowland. If not for the fact that there's not going to be a line and it's going to be a 5-minute ride at tops. And you get a nice look at what's going on. So anyway, this has been the Tomorrowland Transit Authority. I hope you enjoyed this. I do a new attraction every week. I'd love to hear what you want to see me cover next. I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time for the next episode of Minecraft Disney World. Bye, everyone.